Okay, let's kick it off. So today we're here with Tamara, and today isn't about like just the shiny version of being a founder, but we will also talk about the nice but also the dark days of bootstrapping a company. In your case, Solarise, and also the moments of where you ask yourself what I'm actually doing, but also like the specific tactics that you, Tamara, used to build something from zero. And yeah, nice that you took the time. Welcome. I would say we kick it
Thank
off we kick it off with the first question related to your transition from studying to bootstrapping a software as a service company. And in 2024, you finished like your software engineering degree with like a nearly perfect grade, I'd say. And in university, there is mostly not mostly the right answer, but if you like spend time in a startup or build a startup, there are no textbooks or no clear answers, I would say. So, what was the hardest thing for you to kind of unlearn the perfect student mindset to survive the messiness of bootstrapping a company, a software as a service company?
So to straightly answer your question, the hardest thing was to ditch the theory and like learn everything experientially, and just like I try to avoid consuming lots and lots of content of how to grow your company, how to do this, how to do that, and spend most of the time testing. So setting like tests, figuring out what are the results, and figuring out what are the next steps. So this is the major thing. For me, as you said, I was studying software engineering. So thankfully, a lot of my school was about completing some kind of projects, building stuff. So the transition to startup was pretty natural. The unnatural part was the business side of it. So that was kind of the hardest thing, and that is the point that I was telling you earlier. So in business, I would say there's no theory. You have to experientially really feel it and like to really understand it. What does it mean? Yeah.
Were there like any mentors or other founders, or like how did you learn that you can't trust only the playbooks, but you have to experiment as a founder?
Like I went through a lot of boot camps and like lectures on how to do things as a startup founder, and even though I can now tell that like most of the stuff is true, uh, when you first hear it and you don't have any experience of it, you assume it's like an exact formula. So if I do this, I get this. But then you enter a real world situation where you have people who are a lot of times not that logical, and you have unexpected events happening. So then you learn that experience is the best school, I would say. I had also a few mentors. My comment on mentors is that they are great, but don't expect them to do stuff for you. They are the people that can like provide their own experience and maybe navigate you to the right path, but you need to know to ask the questions. And yeah, you also have to test things to have those questions to ask them. So yeah, that's kind of my experience with that.
That makes sense. That leads to another question. Also, when starting out as a founder, what were there like things that you sacrificed in your personal life, or also in friendships, relationships, while building Solarise? And if so, what were the things that you sacrificed?
Yeah, prior to even my studies, I played a lot of sports. I played volleyball. I was on a path to go pro with this sport. Some sort of events happened, but even then, I started to prioritize stuff and, like as you said, maybe sacrifice some social events and stuff like that. I would say I'm mostly keeping similar mindset now. I'm trying to balance it out, but honestly. you really have to love what you're doing if you're starting a startup, because to stay in the game, to develop your company, you really need to work hard. So, like, I'm spending most of my time during the week, even weekends, at our office, and like trying to balance it out with team by having some fun activities, by watching some like startup stuff that would motivate us to work even harder and things like that.
Okay, so you have your tactics to motivate and stay focused. Like, have you thought that it's like, have you expected those sacrifices beforehand, or was it more like a surprise? And how did you handle, like, if it was a surprise, how did you handle the transition or the realization of, okay, I have to actually sacrifice a lot to build a company?
Yeah, well, I would say I was kind of expecting it because I was always trying to be a pro player, a pro like person at doing something. So I assumed it was going to be sacrifice, but I didn't assume that even when I'm giving my best and like giving all my time to it, it still sometimes doesn't reward you, and you have to be patient and to go through it and to accept it and to continue going at the same pace without losing your mind. So maybe that kind of difficulty and that kind of patience that you have to have, I didn't like forecast before.
How did you handle those phases where you were like uncertain? Is this all working out? Is it all worth it? All the effort, all the sacrifices? Like, was it a team that motivated you as well, or like as you said, or were there any other things that you did to actually go through that phase of uncertainty?
Yeah. So startup is like as a thing that I'm like building, but also my personal challenge. So I like it because it's always challenging me and forcing me to change and to grow from it. Um, so I kind of had to learn that uncertainty for me means just something that I can't predict right now, but not necessarily bad. And also that uncertainty is something new. So if I could predict it, it's something that I already know, so it's not something new. And if I can't predict it, maybe it can be huge. So I'm always trying to look at it that way. And also, I'm trying to look at it as like you can see and you can hear a lot of people talking about overnight success, and we all know it doesn't happen. But I like to remind myself that, yeah, I'm working every day, but that is something that allows me to think that my overnight success will come someday. So if I'm putting
The
my
overnight
effort, I
sprint.
can accept it. Yeah, I can expect it to happen. But if I'm not putting that work, I don't have any privilege to even think that would happen.
Okay, so it's also combined with like a strong belief that you have inside of you, like believing that
Yeah.
this is the path. Okay, nice. Um, Another topic, during your bachelor's, you co-founded like a platform to connect ambitious students. What was the things that you learned from this time, like building something during uni, building a community, that you took over to the bootstrapping part of yours, or like in general, bootstrapping a software as a service company or Solarise? Were there any learnings?
Yeah.
Anything?
The main difficulties with that was building a community. I didn't know anything about it. My co-founder and I were just thinking like, oh, like how cool it would be if I, for example, knew a medical student who can bring me the domain knowledge and I can build anything for him, like no problem. I just didn't know the domain. So the idea was to connect people from different sides and enable them to work together. And we really like try to push it. We organize a lot of live events here in Serbia, where I'm from, and people really loved it. And that energy and passion when you have a live event, that was great. But it was at a time where AI wasn't still like that developed, and you couldn't just prompt Lovable to build you an app. It was much harder. So I would say maybe we were too early for that. So with that on mind and with the difficulty of building a community, we kind of left it at the uni project kind of level. But it was a good start before Solarise to get to know like the first steps in building a startup, and also with the like idea generation for the next thing. So with the difficulty of building a community, we thought, okay, next time we are building a SaaS, a tool that people can just use, and we don't necessarily have to have like the chicken and the egg part of the story where you have to build a community on both sides.
Okay, so you kind of like knew what you don't want to build again, but
Yeah.
focusing on something different. When it comes to engineering versus sales, like you have an engineering background, I imagine you also know how to do sales as you're now a co-founder. Was there like a specific meeting where you realized, okay, actually it's not about like having the best solution, but also having like the big vision, or like communicating well what you're actually doing, what the value proposition is? Did you have such a meeting where you realized, okay, this is something different than just engineering, or like, yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning, where when we didn't have like any of the product built yet, we were trying to sell it as an idea, and all the time I tried to talk to people about the features and what kind of things they can automate with it and stuff like that. And even though I was having some kind of a picture in my head, they couldn't understand the word I was saying. So
Mhm.
at one point of time, before one kind of a demo meeting, I would say, or we can call it whatever. But I stumbled upon idea of like just going to Canva and just like cutting out different like screenshotting different parts of other softwares and like just putting them on Canva and having some kind of a prototype that was personalized for the company that I was about to talk. So I used their website and like scrapped around how our software would look, and they were pretty amazed to see their own website with a new tool that we were about to develop, and that gave me like a big insight that like people really want to see how it looks for them. They want to have the feeling prior to buying the product of like what would it bring to them, what can they expect from it, and stuff like that. So from that on, I really focus really on a language that they are using. So I'm trying to use their words when I'm talking with them. I'm trying to figure out like what are their concerns to mitigate them and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say like sales is totally about relationship building. Sometimes you don't even have to talk about your product. You just need to make that person happy that day because they will then remember you and stuff like that. So, like, totally different from engineering.
I can imagine. Also, like kind of saying goodbye to the perfectionism of building every feature beforehand
Yeah.
is also kind of hard. A more personal question, like how often, if you want to answer that, how often do you struggle as a founder, and what helps you to get back on track when you have like bad days or bad days of uncertainty, for example?
Yeah, I struggle a lot, honestly. And I think most of the founders do. just because of that certainty that we were talking about, and because that certainty is so unfamiliar to the person, and like people constantly resist the change, so it's kind of tough to deal with it every day. So I struggle sometimes, like some periods I struggle more. Sometimes I'm mostly good, but I'm kind of doubting, and yeah. But how do I get through it? Yeah, I try to remind myself that I don't want to quit from this. I can be beaten. We can fail at our company. I can accept that, but I can't accept that I gave up. I didn't like. I shied away from it. That's one thing that keeps me up, and also people around me. Like if I didn't have my friends and my family that I can come to when to rest, to have fun with, and stuff like that. I would say I couldn't keep up. And also, I have my own little routines, interests, passions that I do in my free time that like give me some kind of a reward system to keep going.
Seems like the strong belief in yourself and also the balance that you kind of keeping are the magic things on how to de-struggle yourself. Like what are the, like, last question, what are the things that you mentioned, like what are the things that you do to, like, yeah, switch off from founder mode, for example, besides family
Uh,
time?
yeah. So I really like sports. I now it's now winter time in Serbia, so I'm not doing it at this time, but in spring and summer and autumn I'm running. I actually ran a marathon and a couple of half marathons, so I'm really into that. I like to read. I really like to dive deep in stuff. Priorly, I try to like read most. You would say self-help books and stuff like that. Now I'm more interested in like some kind of scientific stuff, maybe even some kind of biology and that types. Also, I like to spend time in nature. We have like forest near our town, so I try to go there as often. Travel around Europe, and yeah, those are the main things that I do.
So sounds nice, thanks for sharing. Okay, then we're transitioning into our fast session. So I have a few questions that you can, or can try to answer, some sharp questions, try to answer in a fast way in 1 to 2 sentences. Okay, it's also related to your habits. The first question, like, what are your three most important, but maybe also unusual habits as a founder? Can be work related, but also privately.
Mm, First thing I do is try to envision my whole day. What are the things that I can expect that day, and what are the things that I can maybe fail that day, so that I'm maybe aware of them priorly and maybe act better on them before they happen. Like some kind of trying to avoid them. Also, I meditate. I really like the mental side of this whole journey and like overcoming myself. So I meditate every day, no exception. And the third thing, um, yeah, I don't have anything that not like that's not unusual. I always try to, yeah.
I just wanted to say those two are very nice examples.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a third
Yeah.
one, no worries.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
What is the most most overrated startup growth hack in your opinion? If you want to grow your startup, what is the most overrated hack to do
I would
so?
say talking in person with your customer. In the age of AI, people are really seeking the deeper connections. And I think the bubble with all the automations and like bulk sending emails and stuff like that is soon going to be like blown away, and we will go back to sending actual mails to people to really try to be friends with them.
Okay, nice. So it's the overrated hack would be that you automate your outreach and stuff, but more like the personal thing
Yeah.
you would recommend. Makes sense. If you had to start Solarise again with only 500 euros, what's the first thing you'd buy or spend the money on?
Ticket to some conference to meet those people in person, like from the market that I'm trying to approach.
One unpopular opinion about the European tech scene could also be a personal one.
Yeah, I would just say that that we don't have like major startups and worldwide startups. Like we can set Lovable as an example now. They're from Europe and they're really doing good. So just that.
And another one, like if you could put like, and I stole this like from another podcast, but if you could put like one sentence on a billboard in the center of, let's say, a big city, for every founder to see, what would it say?
Mm, yeah, maybe it's something that everyone tells you, but I think it's really important, and it's just like talk to your customers. It's like it's the whole job.
And the last one thing you would tell the younger Tamara before starting her first startup.
Don't think that anything you do will be you can do anything perfectly in the startup world. You will always have uh, some part of it that is hectic, crazy, not logical, and stuff like that.
That's a nice end. That was it. Thanks a lot for joining the session. Maybe as the last thing, where can people check out your startup? I can also put some links in the description. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so we're active on LinkedIn. You can check us out there by just typing Solarise. And also, you can check out our website. It's www.solarise.app.
nice. Sounds good. Thanks, Tamara, for the session. It was very inspiring to talk to you. And yeah, that's it for today.
Thank you, Fabiana.